The media certainly wasn't focused on it. They were more focused on, Michael Jackson's new album release. And, it wasn't all flattering, but, it seemed like this was, water under the bridge and something that didn't need to be addressed. He was a nice guy. I mean, I'm going to be honest. He was very nice, always very polite. He would always carry a guitar around with him. He made his own music. He would describe it as pop R&B like Michael Jackson. I remember that because he said it many times very clearly. He would wear fedoras. Yeah, that was Jordan.
What were your determinations when you examined him? He seemed to essentially be a healthy guy. The lupus is an autoimmune disease, and he only had skin involvement, which had destroyed part of the skin of his nose, and his nasal surgeries and all were really reconstructive to try and look normal.
Lupus is an autoimmune disease, as you said, where the immune system, one of our larger systems that's designed to protect us against germs and viruses, actually attacks our own body cells and tissues. Many patients with lupus have vitiligo, but he had a form of skin lupus called discoid lupus, which affects about 40% of the patients with lupus, and you do get depigmentation.
So Michael Jackson suffered from a skin disease called vitiligo. He was accused throughout his career for decades by the media of deliberately bleaching his skin from brown to white because they said he hated his race.
Is your skin lighter because you don't like being black?
He insisted throughout his life that he suffered from vitiligo.
I have a skin disorder that destroys the pigmentation of the skin. It's something that I cannot help.
In fact, when he passed away, his autopsy report confirmed that he suffered from vitiligo. Now, vitiligo is a disease which attacks the pigment in the skin. And what it does, it turns your skin a very, very pale white color, almost translucent, and it makes it very sensitive to the sun.
One thing you say to lupus patients, don't let the sun hit your skin.
That's right.
So that umbrella, would you carry it out in the sun? May have been just that.
That's exactly correct.
It's a very debilitating condition. So what it does, it doesn't, turn you from brown to white all in one go. Of course, it happens in very tiny increments, and it happens at different speeds all over your body. So it can leave you almost looking like paint splatter or blood splatter. It's very random.
It's very interesting. It affects the neck, the face, the upper part of the wrists, and the groin.
So the allegation by Evan Chandler was that his son could accurately describe discoloration on Michael Jackson's genitals, which had been caused by vitiligo. They seek and obtain a warrant which allows them to force Michael Jackson to submit to a naked photo shoot by the police.
I have been forced to submit to a dehumanizing and humiliating examination by the Santa Barbara County Sheriff Department and the Los Angeles Police Department earlier this week. They served a search warrant on me which allowed them to view and photograph my body, including my penis, my buttocks, my lower torso, thighs, and any other area that they wanted. They were supposedly looking for any discoloration, spotting, blotches, or other evidence of a skin color disorder called vitiligo, which I have previously spoken about. The warrant also directed me to cooperate in any examination of my body by their physician to determine the condition of my skin, including whether I have vitiligo or any other skin disorder.
The book by Evan Chandler's brother, Ray, where he quotes Evan as having a discussion with his lawyer, Larry Feldman, and they're talking about the vitiligo situation. They've told the Chandlers that Michael has a skin condition called vitiligo, and that the skin condition can constantly change the way that your body looks because it's constantly attacking the pigment. And so the district attorney has told the Chandlers that this is great for them, because if Jordan Chandler's description matches, then it matches. But if it doesn't match, then they can say, oh, well, that's because of the vitiligo. So Larry Feldman says, either way, we win.
So after they searched Michael Jackson's body, no arrest warrant was issued. Charles, what were the initial reports about this body search?
In early '94, law enforcement sources tell two different media outlets, Reuters and USA Today, that there is no match.
Jordan Chandler's drawing of Michael Jackson's genitalia have since been leaked. And when you really look at it with words such as my theory and be selective, it's questionable whether these are truly Jordan's own descriptions or instructions from someone else. It's also important to note that Evan Chandler has admittingly given Michael Jackson painkillers through injections to his buttocks. So at the very least, Evan saw Jackson's gluteus and that he had discoloration on his lower body region.
The smoking gun obtains a document which is called, they say, the Linden Affidavit. It's written by a detective, Linden, who works for the authorities that are investigating the Geordie Chandler case, and she has taken from Geordie Chandler a description of Michael Jackson's genitals. Geordie Chandler tells Linden that Michael Jackson is circumcised. When they conduct the body search, it turns out that Michael Jackson is in fact not circumcised, meaning that his description has not matched.
What had happened was Barry Rothman was being sued by Michael Jackson for extortion, so he quits representing the Chandlers. The Chandlers then proceeded to hire Gloria Allred, who then proceeds to hold a press conference claiming that the Chandlers are ready for a criminal case.
To make a charge against the celebrity.
Gloria Allred is shortly fired, and Barry Rothman, who's now working in the background, offers Larry Feldman as a replacement, an attorney who is willing to push for a civil case. Charles, what is the difference between a civil case and a criminal case?
For anyone that's listening that doesn't know the difference, a civil case is where you sue somebody and that's for money, and a criminal case is brought by the state, the government, and that is a case where if you're convicted, then you go to prison. So they're two very separate processes. What happens is that the criminal case stalls because they can't find any evidence to suggest that Michael's done anything wrong. So they raid his house, they don't find anything incriminating. They raid his family home, they don't find anything incriminating. They raid his doctor's offices, they don't find anything incriminating. Of course, you've got a boy at the center of the case who at first said he wasn't molested, then changed his mind and said he was molested, and only changed his mind after being given sodium amytal. So then they go off looking for other victims and they can't find any.
In fact, if anybody wants to go back to 1993 when I was interviewed by the Santa Barbara Police Department, I sat there and I gave them the names. They're on record. They have all of this information, but they were scanning Michael Jackson. All they cared about was trying to find something on Michael Jackson, who Michael was innocent. And that was what the interview was about with the police in 1993. I told them he is not that guy. And they said, well, maybe you just don't understand your friend. And I said, no, I know the difference between pedophiles and somebody who's not a pedophile because I've been molested. Here's the names. Go investigate.
And so the criminal case is basically going nowhere. And meanwhile, the civil case is moving through the court system at the usual speed. So the judge in October of 1993 orders depositions. Now, a deposition is where you are forced to state your case, to give your evidence under oath. It can be done in court, or it can be done under oath elsewhere and audio taped or videotaped. Now, he orders that Michael Jackson is to be deposed by January. The problem with this is that if you have a civil case which comes before the criminal case, and you are forced to give away your defense, then what that does is it gives the prosecutors a front row seat for your defense. They can then go away and tailor their criminal case to circumvent your defense case. So, for example, if you say, I have an alibi in the civil case, then the prosecutors can go away and tailor their criminal case where they change all the dates, and they can just change their case to get around it. If you have a witness, they go and discredit that witness, or they put it on a day when that witness was not there. They just take out your defense chunk by chunk. So by the time you come into a criminal court, where your life is on the line, your freedom, rather than your bank balance, you have no defense. So you've wasted your defense trying to save some money, and now you're going to prison. That's the problem with a civil case preceding a criminal case. Now, from October 93 to January 94, Michael's defense goes back to court 4 different times and argues to the judge, we need the civil case delayed so that it doesn't precede the criminal case, because this is unconstitutional. If you force our client to give away his defense, then you're denying him his constitutional right to a fair criminal trial.
Michael Jackson lost two very important motions that he should have won. One was a preference. A preference has to do with either he was too young to remember and there's a memory issue, or he's too old.
Larry Feldman keeps arguing is that because the complainant is a child, his memory is not fully developed and he would be at risk of losing his memory if his testimony is not heard quickly.
Jordy Chandler was 14 at the time. He wasn't too young or too old.
The Jackson lawyers are going to court again and again and again to try to get this deposition put back, to get the civil case put back so the criminal case can precede it, and the Chandlers are fighting hard to stop that from happening.
Evan Chandler was asking the court to push the civil case while the criminal case was going, because normally the criminal case has to take precedence over the civil case. He shouldn't have won on that one, because constitutionally that went against Michael's constitutional right. He won on that one.